Hello and welcome to today's session, EndNote 2025 Essentials, Artfully Managing Your References. I'm excited to guide you through one of the most fundamental parts of using EndNote, building your research library from the ground up. Whether you're brand new to EndNote or just brushing up on best practices, this session is designed to help you get organized, stay consistent, and start citing confidently. Let's take a look at what we'll be covering. By the end of this session, you'll be able to create a brand new EndNote library and save it in the best location. Understand how manual reference entry works and when it's the best option, and use trusted information providers like PubMed, ProQuest, and Web of Science to import references directly into EndNote. We'll keep things practical using real examples you can try out on your own. We'll first look at creating a new library and saving it to a local folder. Now let's take a closer look at what lives inside your EndNote library. It's helpful to think of your library as a mini research database you control. The foundation is your references. These are the individual records you add or import, whether it's a journal article, a book, a conference paper, or even a video. Each reference holds key citation information like the title, author, publication date, and more. But EndNote doesn't stop at citation data. You can also attach supporting files like PDF files of the full article, data sets, charts, or figures directly to each reference. These files stay stored alongside your citations, so you don't have to dig through folders later. To keep everything organized, you can create groups and even group sets for managing large numbers of references. You can also add tags, which function a bit like hashtags, helping you quickly filter and sort by topic, status, or stage of a project. And finally, EndNote quietly builds and maintains term lists in the background. These lists help with consistency, for example, ensuring that journal names are formatted the same way every time, or that author names aren't misspelled across entries. Altogether, your EndNote library is a powerful, flexible tool that supports both the creative and technical sides of academic writing. Let's talk about the anatomy of an EndNote library, because understanding the file structure will help you avoid one of the most common support issues, accidentally separating files. Every EndNote library you create actually has two pieces. First, there's the .enl file. This is like the table of contents or master index. It holds the structure of your library, but not the contents themselves. The actual contents, your attachments, term lists, saved PDF files, figures, and formatting preferences are stored in a companion folder called the .data folder. A helpful way to picture it is like this. Your .enl file is the key, and the .data folder is the vault. Or if you prefer the original metaphor, your .enl file is the door, and the .data folder is the warehouse behind it. If you ever move or rename your library, always keep those two pieces together. If you try to open a library without its .data folder, you'll get a warning, and some of your data, including attachments, could be missing or unrecoverable. So if you're ever backing up, sharing, or transferring libraries between computers, be sure to zip both parts or use EndNote's built-in compression feature. We'll talk more about that later. Now that you know what an EndNote library is made of, let's walk through how to create one from scratch. When you first launch EndNote, you'll see a welcome window with a shortcut to create a new library. You can also go to the File menu and select New. Either option gets you to the same place. Once you choose to create a library, you'll be prompted to give it a name and pick a save location. We'll cover that in more detail on the next slide. Behind the scenes, EndNote will create two essential components, a .enl file and a .data folder. Together, they make up your full working library. If you're working on multiple research projects, it's perfectly fine to create more than one library, but keep in mind that many users prefer to manage everything in a single master library, using groups and tags for organization. Now that you've selected the option to create a new library, EndNote will ask you to name the file and choose where it should be stored on your computer. Start by giving your library a clear and descriptive name. This becomes especially helpful if you end up managing multiple libraries over time. For example, a name like Literature Review _2025 or Grant Project _Q3 is much more useful than something generic like Library 1. Next, choose a safe local location to store the file. The Documents folder is a good option. What matters most is that the location is not part of a cloud-synced folder. Services like OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox can interfere with EndNote libraries by separating or corrupting the files that must remain together. When you click Save, EndNote will generate two essential components, the .enl file, which is the main library, and the accompanying .data folder, which stores all attachments, term lists, and configuration data. These two items must always remain together. Taking a few extra seconds to choose the right name and a stable storage location will help protect your work as your library grows. Once you've clicked Save, EndNote will open your brand new library window, and this is where the magic starts. At first, it's completely blank, but this space will quickly grow into a rich, searchable database of your references, attached PDF files, notes, figures, and more. Think of it as your personal research vault. From here, you can begin manually entering references, importing them from databases, organizing them with groups, and attaching full text PDF files all in one place. Quick but important reminder, your library becomes more valuable the more you use it, so treat it like you would any critical project file. Back it up regularly, either by using EndNote's compressed library feature or by saving a copy to an external drive. If you're syncing your library with EndNote Web, that's great, but it's not a full backup. We'll talk more about syncing and sharing in a later webinar. Let's continue by reviewing the workflow for manually creating a reference in your EndNote library. Now let's look at how to add a reference manually. This is useful when you need to input something that's not available through a database search, or when you want to clean up or complete a partially imported record. To begin, you can select New Reference from the References menu. You can also click the New Reference icon on the toolbar, or use the keyboard shortcut Control+N on Windows or Command+N on a Mac. This opens a blank reference window. At the top, you'll choose the reference type, like journal, article, book, or thesis. Each type will display a different set of fields based on what's typically needed for that format. You don't have to fill in every field, just enter as much detail as you have. Focus on the essentials first: author, year, title, publication name, and page numbers if applicable. EndNote will format the reference for you later using this data. Manual entry is especially helpful for sources like personal communications, archival materials, or unusual formats that don't always appear in standard databases. You'll see that it's a flexible and straightforward process. Once you've opened a new reference window, it's time to define the details of that reference. EndNote gives you up to 54 fields to work with, depending on the reference type you've selected, whether it's a journal article, book, web page, or something else. These fields include everything from the title and author to volume, issue, DOI, URL, and even custom notes or research keywords. You don't have to complete every field. In most cases, filling in the key citation information is enough, like the author, year, title, and source. The fields you choose to complete will depend on your citation style and the publication you're writing for. It's worth noting that the fields are dynamic. If you change the reference type at the top of the window, for example, from journal article to book, the available fields will automatically update to match that type. EndNote uses this structured metadata to generate formatted references in your selected output style, so accuracy here really pays off later. Take your time with this step, especially when entering data manually. Small details like punctuation and consistent capitalization can make a big difference in the final bibliography. Now that we've covered manual entry, let's turn to exporting from databases. EndNote integrates with many online research databases, including PubMed, Web of Science, and ProQuest. These platforms allow you to select references and export them using a format that EndNote recognizes, typically .nbib, RIS, or .ciw. This export method is much faster than manual entry and ensures accuracy by pulling metadata directly from the source. When the export is initiated, a file is downloaded, and when opened, it automatically triggers EndNote to import the references into your library. Now let's look at how to import references directly from an online database, starting with PubMed. PubMed is a great example to use in training because it's free and publicly accessible, so anyone can follow along regardless of institutional access. To begin, go to pubmed.gov and run a search for the topic you're interested in. Once you see the search results, select one or more citations using the checkboxes, then click the Send To menu and choose Citation Manager. PubMed will generate a small file, usually with a .nbib extension. When you open that file, your computer will use EndNote to launch the import process automatically. Your selected references will appear in your library, typically grouped under a temporary heading called Imported References, so you can review and confirm the metadata before continuing. Keep in mind that while direct export is streamlined, the steps can vary slightly depending on your browser, system settings, and how your computer handles file associations. If you ever run into trouble, reach out to your librarian, check the EndNote support portal, or consult one of our step-by-step guides online. We'll look at how this works with other platforms next, but PubMed is one of the easiest and most common entry points for researchers starting out with EndNote. Now that you've seen how to export references from PubMed, let's take a moment to understand what's happening behind the scenes. When you use PubMed's Send to Citation Manager feature, it generates a small file, usually with a .nbib extension. This file contains the metadata for your selected references, formatted in a way that EndNote understands. In most cases, your operating system will recognize the file type and open it automatically in EndNote 2025. If not, you can manually open the file with EndNote or use the Research Soft Direct Export Helper, which is installed alongside EndNote on Windows systems. Even though these files look like special export files, they're actually just plain text. You can open them in Notepad or another text editor to see how the citation data is structured. EndNote simply reads that structure and places the reference information into the correct fields in your library. If your system doesn't automatically launch EndNote when you open the file, you might need to check your browser's download settings or your file association preferences. Most of the time, fixing this is just a matter of telling your computer to always open .nbib files with EndNote. This same basic process is used with other databases as well, which we'll look at next. Once the file from PubMed is opened in EndNote, the references are added to your library instantly, and EndNote will highlight them for you. You'll see a temporary group called Imported References appear in the Groups panel on the left. This lets you review everything that was just imported. It's especially useful when you're bringing in multiple references at once and want to quickly double-check the metadata. From this view, you can scan through titles, spot any formatting issues, or open individual records to make edits. If anything looks incomplete or off, this is the best time to clean it up. EndNote saves every change you make automatically. There's no save button and no need to worry about losing edits. As soon as you modify a field, attach a file, or move a reference into a group, it's committed to the library. Once you've reviewed your imported references, you can drag them into a permanent group if you're using one, or simply move on and let them live in your full reference list. The same import workflow works across other information provider platforms. Let's now look at how the direct export process works with the Web of Science, Clarivate's own multidisciplinary research platform. Just like with PubMed, you'll start by running a search. After reviewing your results, you can select individual records or entire result sets. Once your selections are made, look for the export option, typically located near the top of the results list. From the export options, choose EndNote Desktop. Web of Science will generate a small export file, usually with a .ciw extension. Opening this file will trigger EndNote to launch and import the references directly into your open library. Once imported, these references will appear in the same imported references group we saw earlier, giving you a chance to review, edit, and organize them. The overall process is very similar to PubMed, but with slight variations in layout and file type. These differences are why it's helpful to get familiar with the interface of each database you use frequently. If you're ever unsure about the process or you don't see EndNote as an export option, your institutional librarian can help, or you can always check the EndNote training site or support portal for updated walkthroughs. And let's take a moment to understand how the export process works behind the scenes when using Web of Science. When you choose the EndNote Desktop export option, Web of Science creates a file with a .ciw extension, and this file contains citation data for your selected references, formatted specifically for EndNote to read. In most cases, your computer will be set to recognize this file type and automatically launch EndNote when you open it. EndNote will then import the references directly into your open library. If the file doesn't open as expected, it likely means that your file associations need a quick update. You can also open the file manually from within EndNote using the import function. And just like the pubmed.mbib files, these .ciw files are actually plain text. They contain structured metadata that EndNote parses to create full reference records. The important thing to remember is that although different databases generate different file types, the overall import process in EndNote remains consistent. Once the file from Web of Science is opened in EndNote, the references are added to your library instantly, and EndNote will highlight them for you. A temporary group called Imported References appears in the Groups panel on the left. This lets you review everything that was just imported. It's especially useful when you're bringing in multiple references at once and want to quickly double-check the metadata. From this view, you can scan through titles, spot any formatting issues, or open individual records to make edits. This is the best time to clean up if anything looks incomplete or off. EndNote saves every change you make automatically. There's no save button and no need to worry about losing edits. As soon as you modify a field, attach a file, or move a reference into a group, it's committed to the library. Once you've reviewed your imported references, you can drag them into a permanent group if you're using one, or simply move on and let them live in your full reference list. Same import workflow works across other information provider platforms. Now let's look at how to export references from the ProQuest platform, which includes databases like ProQuest Dissertations and Theses, APA PsycInfo, and more. After you've performed a search and identified the references you want, you'll typically find export options under buttons labeled Cite, Save, or sometimes All Save options. In ProQuest, there is a Cite button. On the Cite window, press the EndNote button near the bottom of this screen below the Export to a Citation Manager or File heading. From there, select the RIS format, which is compatible with EndNote. The export option might be labeled as RIS, works with EndNote, RefWorks, Zotero, depending on the platform branding. Once the RIS file is downloaded, open it, and EndNote will handle the import process. Just like with PubMed and Web of Science, your references will appear in the Imported References group and be ready for review. ProQuest is especially valuable for accessing gray literature, theses, and dissertations, sources that aren't always well covered by other databases. Including them in your EndNote library helps ensure your research is thorough and well documented. If the process varies slightly depending on your institution's interface or browser setup, support is just a click away, either through your librarian or the EndNote support portal. Next, we'll take a look behind the scenes at how ProQuest handles direct export files. Let's briefly look at what happens behind the scenes when you export from ProQuest. When you select the RIS export option, ProQuest creates a small file with a RIS extension. RIS is a standardized format used by many reference managers, not just EndNote, and it works well for transferring structured citation data. Ideally, your computer will be set to recognize RIS files and launch EndNote automatically. If it's not, you can always open the file manually from within EndNote using the import feature, or adjust your system's file associations to connect RIS files with EndNote going forward. Even though these files are formatted for citation tools, they're fundamentally just plain text. You can open them in a text editor and see a list of tags like AU for author, TI for title, and PY for publication year. This uses this general method EndNote uses with most platforms, whether the file is a .nbib, .ciw, or RIS. EndNote reads the structured metadata and builds the reference record for you. Now that we've explored how to bring references into EndNote from several major databases, let's take a look at what happens once they're imported and how EndNote helps you manage those records effectively. Once you open the RIS file from ProQuest, EndNote automatically imports your references and places them in a temporary group labeled Imported References. This group appears in the left-hand panel of your library window and is created fresh each time you import. It provides a convenient way to focus on only the newest records so you can verify them, check for missing fields, and make any needed edits right away. Just like with other platforms, EndNote saves all updates automatically as you go. You don't need to save the library manually. Every change you make, whether it's updating a title or moving a reference into a group, is instantly preserved. From here, you can organize your imported records by dragging them into permanent groups, adding tags, or attaching full text files if you have them. If you're building a collection for a paper, presentation, or review, this is where that organization really begins. By now, you've seen how similar the workflow is across all three platforms, PubMed, Web of Science, and ProQuest, making EndNote a reliable hub no matter where your research begins. Now that you've seen how to build your EndNote library and import references, our next session will focus on what comes next, using those references in your writing and keeping them organized. We'll show you how to select and customize an output style that matches your target journal or department formatting guidelines. This is key for ensuring your citations and bibliography are always compliant, whether you're submitting to APA, AMA, or something highly specialized. We'll also introduce Cite While You Write, one of EndNote's most powerful tools. It allows you to insert citations directly into Word or Google Docs and automatically generate a formatted bibliography on the fly. And finally, we'll dig into organizing strategies, including how to use tags, create custom groups, and group sets to keep your growing library manageable, especially helpful when juggling multiple projects at once. So if you've mastered many of the basics from this lesson and are ready to level up, join us for the next webinar in the EndNote 2025 training series. We value your input at Clarivate. Your feedback is essential in helping us improve and provide a better training experience. After this session, we would really appreciate it if you could take a few moments to complete our 2-question survey. It's quick and easy, and it gives us the insight we need to continually refine our resources and content. If you need help with EndNote at any point, the EndNote Support Hub is your go-to resource. Whether it's an issue you're facing or you have general questions, Clarivate's team of EndNote experts is available 24/7 via chat, email, or phone. Plus, the portal has a wealth of resources, including troubleshooting tips, step-by-step guides, and frequently asked questions to help you resolve any problems quickly. You can visit the Support Hub at any time for assistance. I want to highlight an incredible resource, the EndNote Lib Guide. This page is your ultimate guide for mastering EndNote, whether you're just starting or looking to take your skills to the next level. Inside the LibGuide, you'll find on-demand learning materials, including tutorial videos, a live training calendar, and quick reference guides designed to help you make the most out of EndNote. It's a fantastic way to continue your learning at your own pace. You can access the EndNote LibGuide anytime to dive deeper into specific features or revisit topics discussed today. And if you're looking for even more interactive help, check out our training portal for upcoming live sessions. Remember, EndNote isn't just about managing references. It's about making your research process more efficient and organized. So explore these resources and don't hesitate to contact us if you need assistance. Thanks again for being here today. We hope you feel confident creating and managing your EndNote library, and we'll see you in the next session. Until then, happy researching.